He left his phone behind in the dimly lit living room, and I was powerless not to reach for it. In the half-light of early evening, his phone lay next to the cushions like a forgotten invitation. I don't know what possessed me to touch it. I just knew I had to. My fingertips brushed the glass smoothness, and my pulse stuttered at how something so small could feel like the key to a hidden world. I sank onto the edge of the sofa, the fabric soft against my skin, the faint scent of his cologne still lingering in the air. I stared at the screen, hesitating, caught between ethics and curiosity. My heart pounded with a mix of thrill and guilt. How often had I caught myself imagining his private moments, wondering what he thought about when he wasn't looking. Now the door was open and I felt something shift inside me. A hunger for that secret inside his hands. The phone lit up with a passcode screen. I watched the numbers hover, his patterned secret digits he input without a thought. I risked it, I guessed. My breath caught when the screen finally blinked awake, revealing the first unlocked image. A photograph of him alone, vulnerable, hair falling in halo-like strands across the pillow. His expression was thoughtful, unreadable. My chest tightened. Intrigued, I scrolled. There were messages, some playful, others tinged with longing. Ones he'd written at the end of late nights, when the world was quiet and his words raw. I froze at one thread, where he confessed something to someone else that I'd never heard. A secret part of him captured in blue text bubbles electrified me. Why did that simple phone hold so much power over me? My mind raced, craving more, but also fearing what I might uncover. I was intoxicated by the tension between what was mine and what wasn't, drawn into a dance of desire and deceit. Something in me shifted deeper, like the rush just beginning, and I didn't know whether to flee or surrender. The screen glowed in my palm and I realized I couldn't stop. I had crossed a boundary already, and now I was relentless. The thread was buried near the bottom of his messages, like something he wasn't ready to delete, but couldn't risk keeping close to the surface. Violet. The name itself felt like a whisper against my skin, soft, delicate, and dangerously beautiful. I didn't recognize it. Not in his stories, not in his friend circles, not in the little details he let slip when he thought I wasn't listening. Which made it worse. So much worse. My finger trembled slightly as I tapped it open. The messages weren't explicit. Not in the way you might expect. But they were intimate. And somehow that made them hit harder. There were no pictures. No confessions of love. Just fragments, words full of suggestion, and something more terrifying, history. Do you still think about that night? Sometimes I wake up and smell your perfume like you're still in my sheets. I wonder what would have happened if we didn't stop. My stomach coiled, heat rushing through me. Not jealousy, not exactly. Something darker. Something more magnetic. I imagined her. Violet. I imagined her pressing against him in some dim hallway. I imagined the hesitation before something irreversible. And I imagined him the way he looked when his guard dropped. The way he'd looked at me once. I hated that my breath was shallow. That my thighs had tensed. That I was reacting to her, to them, to this. Who was she? Scrolling further, I found the last message, sent weeks ago. He hadn't replied. If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. That was it. No closure. No final goodbye. Just an open invitation suspended in time. I sat there in silence, phone still glowing in my hand. The room felt warmer somehow. Closer. Like the air itself had thickened. I could hear my own heartbeat and the way the wind brushed against the window pane. Everything felt intimate. Exposed. I stood, needing to move, anything to break the spell. But as I did, the screen dimmed and his name appeared above a text. On my way back. Miss anything? I froze. The message hadn't been read yet. I had 10 minutes. 10 minutes before I had to pretend I hadn't tasted his secrets. 10 minutes before I had to decide whether to ask him about her. Or keep pretending I hadn't seen a thing. But my body betrayed me. Because in those 10 minutes I didn't put the phone down. I opened the photos again. I looked deeper. I kept searching. For something I wasn't ready to admit I wanted. The video was barely 12 seconds long. It opened with dim, shifting shadows like candlelight flickering against bare walls. A lamp maybe, or the glow of a streetlight through sheer curtains. I almost closed it thinking it was nothing. But then the sound kicked in. A soft inhale. Then a whisper, his voice. close to the mic, almost trembling. "You don't know what you do to me. It wasn't meant for me." The words were too raw, too immediate, like he was speaking to someone inches from his skin. There was a rustling, then movement, just the edge of his collarbone appearing in frame, the curve of his throat glistening slightly, his chest rising like he just exhaled something he wasn't supposed to feel. I watched it 3 times. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't stop. He never said her name. Not once. But the energy in that video, it wasn't casual. It wasn't something you just send to someone after a few flirty texts. This was confessional, intimate, almost reverent. My breath came slower now, heavier. There was something maddeningly sensual about it. The fact that he never showed more than a sliver of himself made it worse. I felt like I was watching something sacred, something stolen. My own reflection in the dark screen when it ended startled me. Cheeks flushed, pupils wide, lips slightly parted. I hated her. And I envied her. He had never spoken to me like that. Never breathed that way around me, not with the same desperation. And yet, how could he have meant it with her? How could he have needed someone like that when he still looked at me the way he did? Unless he didn't. Unless I was just the one who stayed. I should have stopped. I knew I should have stopped. But I wanted to know everything. Because once a crack opens in someone's story, you can't help but push your fingers inside and widen it until the whole truth spills out. So I went further. I searched her name in his contacts. Nothing. Then I searched Vi. That's when I found the voice notes. Short. Unlabeled. Undated. But unmistakably hers. The first one. I didn't expect it to feel like that. It wasn't explicit. It was something else. Something that curled inside me and made my body feel strange. Like I was hearing someone else take ownership of him. Like I was the one who wasn't supposed to be listening. "You always stop right when I start to lose myself in you. Why do you do that?" She sounded confident, playful, dangerous. But there was something about her voice. The way she lingered on her vowels, the way she said "lose myself." Like she meant it. Felt like a mirror. Or maybe a warning. Suddenly I wasn't just curious. I was consumed. The door clicked open with that soft, unmistakable sound. The one that used to make me feel safe. Tonight it was a warning. I jumped up from the couch like the phone had burned me, screen black, heart pounding, guilt staining my fingertips. I barely managed to slide it back where he'd left it, between the cushions. My pulse thudded in my ears. He was already inside. "Hey," he called out, casual, tired. Like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't just watched the most private pieces of him unravel in my hands. "Hey," I answered too quickly. My voice was off. Tight. He came into the room, kicked off his shoes, ran a hand through his hair. God, that hair. Messy and damp from the rain. Falling in soft waves over his forehead. He looked undone. Not in the usual way. In a way that made something inside me ache. "You okay?" he asked, walking toward me slowly. I nodded. Lied. "Yeah, just tired." But I knew he could feel it. The shift in the air. The static between us. He stood in front of me, close enough to smell. Cedar, rain, and something warm underneath. My body betrayed me again. My breath hitched and I stepped back without meaning to. He noticed. "What's going on?" he said, his voice lower now. Smoother. "You're acting weird." I looked up at him and for the first time I didn't see just him. I saw every message. Every secret. Every moment he hadn't given to me. "Who's Violet?" I didn't mean to say it. Not like that. But it came out like a spark from a frayed wire, sharp, bright, and impossible to take back. His face changed instantly. Not guilt. Not fear. Just stillness. And then after a beat. "Why are you going through my phone?" I blinked. It wasn't a denial. Wasn't even a real question. It was deflection and it made me dizzy. He moved closer. Too close. I could feel the warmth of his body. The way his presence filled the space like gravity. My heart was screaming. I should have pulled away. I should have yelled. I should have walked out. But instead, I let him touch my wrist. Lightly. Barely there. It was such a small contact. But it hit me like a slow-motion wave. He looked into my eyes like he could see every thought I tried to hide. And the worst part? I didn't look away. "I never lied to you," he said quietly. "But there are things I haven't told you." that doesn't mean they still matter. That's when I realized he wasn't sorry. Not really. And I didn't want him to be. I wanted to know what she had felt. I wanted to understand why he'd whispered like that at 2 a.m. Why he sounded like a different man. Why my body reacted to him now like I was discovering him all over again, as if he wasn't mine at all. He reached out again, touched my jaw. This time I didn't flinch. There was silence. Long, heavy. His thumb hovered near my cheekbone. His breath was slow and uneven. The heat between us was unbearable, but no one moved. His lips were close, so close that I could feel the warmth of them brush my skin when he exhaled. But he didn't touch me. Not yet. And that was somehow worse. I stood there, frozen and burning. Every inch of me pulled toward him like gravity had become personal. I wanted to speak, but no words came, only the soft tremor in my breath, the way my fingers curled at my sides, aching to move. "Tell me to stop," he whispered so low I almost missed it. But I didn't, because I couldn't. His hand found the small of my back, fingers tentative at first, like asking a question my body was already answering. The heat of his palm pressed through the fabric of my shirt, and I arched slightly without meaning to, just enough to close the space between us. That was all it took. His mouth met mine not with hunger but with something worse, patience. The kind of patience that knew exactly what it was doing. The kind that explored, traced, learned me. Like he was collecting every reaction, every unspoken desire I tried to bury. And I let him. God, I let him. My hand slid up his chest, slow, uncertain. He felt like he always had, but different somehow. More dangerous. Like now I knew he wasn't just mine. And that knowledge didn't push me away. Pulled me in deeper. Every time his lips left mine, they returned softer. Slower. As if tasting the guilt on my skin and choosing it anyway. He kissed me like we were making a silent pact to forget what I'd found. To drown it in heat and breath and the quiet thunder of skin remembering skin. But somewhere under all that something darker stirred. Because as much as I wanted him in that moment, I couldn't stop hearing her voice. "You always stop right when I start to lose myself in you." Was this what she felt? Did he touch her this carefully? Did he pause like this, let the silence speak for him? Did he kiss her with this kind of restraint like he was afraid of what would happen if he gave in fully? His hand slid under the hem of my shirt, warm and sure. Palms exploring the curve of my spine like he was writing something there. I shivered. And when I gasped, it wasn't from surprise. It was from recognition. Because now, I wasn't just with him. I was inside the memory of her too. And it thrilled me. We stumbled to the couch. The same one where I'd found the video. The same one where his secrets had unfolded in my hands. Now it cradled our bodies, legs tangled, breath uneven, movement slow and searching. He kissed the edge of my jaw just beneath my ear, the place that makes my whole body flutter. He knew it too well. And yet something was off. He stopped, looked at me. There was this moment, barely a second, where everything hung in the air. All of it. Her. The phone. The way I'd found out. The way I'd responded. I waited for the truth. Or for a lie. But what came instead was his mouth. On mine. Again. And this time we didn't stop. His body stilled, but the heat between us didn't. It lingered like smoke, curling around the edges of what we'd just done. Something that didn't have a name yet, but already felt heavier than both of us. I watched his face shift as my words landed. "I know about the video." There was no flash of panic. No immediate denial. Just silence. And in that silence I could feel it. The weight of everything he hadn't said. Everything he had chosen to keep tucked away where I was never supposed to look. He sat up slowly, the sheet pooling at his waist, head bowed like someone bracing for a blow. His hair fell over his eyes, but I could still see his jaw clench. "When?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "Tonight." Still no emotion. No anger. Just that terrifying calm that always comes before something breaks. "I wasn't going to watch it," I lied. And we both knew it. He looked at me then, finally. And for the first time I didn't recognize the expression in his eyes. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't shame. It was something lonelier. "Why didn't you just ask?" I laughed. Sharp. Bitter. "Because you never said there was anything to ask about." His gaze dropped, and that told me more than any confession could. She had mattered. Maybe not now, Maybe not in the same way, but enough to haunt the quiet corners of him. Enough to make him whisper her name into the dark when he thought no one would ever hear it. "I sent that video a long time ago," he said finally. "Before us. Then why was it still there?" I asked softer now. "Why save something you claim doesn't matter?" His voice was so quiet I almost missed it. Because part of me didn't want to forget how that felt. The room went still. And in that stillness I realized something I wasn't ready to admit. I wasn't angry because of her. I was angry because I wanted to be her. The one he lost control with. The one who made him speak like the world disappeared when she walked into it. And tonight, I had been her. But not because he chose it. Because I forced it. I turned my face away, embarrassed by the heat rushing up my neck. I didn't know what hurt more, his truth or mine. He reached for me again gently, as if that would fix it. But I pulled back. Because now that I'd seen what he'd hidden, I couldn't unsee it, and I didn't know who I was to him anymore. His silence stretched between us like a thread about to snap. I waited, eyes on him, breath shallow, skin still warm from what we'd just done, now chilled by the question that hung unanswered in the air. "If she called you right now, would you go?" He didn't lie. That would have been easier. He just looked at me like I was asking something sacred, something unfair. Like I was peeling open a part of him he wasn't ready to show, not even to himself. And then softly, "I don't know." Those 3 words shattered something inside me. Not because he still loved her. I could have handled that. But because part of him wanted to, and he didn't try to bury it. I got up, the sheet slipping off me like a curtain falling on the wrong act. I pulled on his shirt, trembling fingers trying to hold on to anything solid. But nothing felt solid anymore. Not the ground beneath me. Not his voice. Not even my own heart. "I never asked you to be perfect," I said, staring out the window. But I didn't think I was competing with a memory. He stood behind me quiet. Then I heard him step closer. "You weren't," he said. "Not until tonight." That's when I turned. That's when I saw it in his eyes. This wasn't just about her. It was about me. About what I'd done. About how I'd peeled back the layers without permission. About how I'd touched a version of him I was never meant to see. And somewhere in that twisted, burning truth was desire. Unspoken. Raw. "I have to ask," I said, not sure I wanted the answer. "Was she different? With you?" He hesitated. And then he whispered it, like it was a secret he'd rehearsed alone in his head for too long. "She let me lose control." The words hit like a blow. But not the way you'd expect. Because deep down, I wanted that. Not to be her. Not really. But to be the version of me that could make him fall apart like that. The one who didn't need to ask if she was enough. The one who already knew. I stepped toward him slowly, my voice low. "And if I let you?" I asked. "What would you do to me?" His eyes darkened. His breath caught. And for a split second I saw it. The version of him that scared me. The one that hadn't been here with me. Not fully. Not until now. He stepped forward. So close our bodies weren't touching, but the space between us was charged, electric, begging. "I'd ruin you," he said, voice barely a growl. "And you'd thank me for it." Goosebumps rose along my arms. But I didn't move. Because this wasn't about punishment. It was about a hunger we'd both denied for too long. A part of him he thought I couldn't handle. A part of me that wanted to be handled. I leaned in. So close our lips brushed but didn't touch. "Show me." He didn't touch me right away. Not like I expected. Instead he stepped back. Just far enough to look at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Or maybe like he was deciding if he could show me what he'd kept hidden. Then he spoke, slow and careful. "I've never told anyone this," he said, his voice tight. "But every time I kissed you, I imagined you watching me with someone else." I froze. "What?" His throat moved like the words caught fire on the way out. "I used to wonder how you'd look if you saw what I looked like when I lost control. I wanted to see you jealous, possessive, desperate." He moved closer, his voice dropping into something darker, more exposed. "I wanted you to take me like you'd earned me. Like you couldn't stand the thought of anyone else knowing what I looked like when I gave in." My breath caught. Because I had seen it now. The video. The messages. The pieces of him that weren't mine until I stole them. And I had become that girl. The one who pushed past her own comfort, her own rules. The one who tasted his secrets and wanted more. He was in front of me now, his hands hovering near my hips, not touching, just waiting. Waiting to see if I still wanted the version of him he tried to keep hidden. And I did. Not because I forgave him. Not because it made sense. But because I finally understood what we really were. We were built on almost. On every moment that could have crossed the line but didn't. On every touch that stopped just before it gave everything away. But tonight there was no stopping. I closed the gap between us, my hand sliding up his chest with a slowness that made him tremble. His lips parted, but this time it was me who kissed him. Not softly. Not with hesitation. But like I wanted him to remember it. His body pressed against mine, hot and desperate, and this time he didn't hold back. There were no pauses. No carefully measured touches. Just heat. Breath. A rhythm we both knew by instinct. We didn't speak. There were no more questions left to ask. Only this. This silence. This collision. This surrender. And when it was over and the world finally stilled, I lay against him, skin damp, hair tangled, heart raw. He brushed my shoulder, gentle again. Like the storm had passed. And then I whispered, "Was it always going to be like this with us?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "Beautiful. Messy. A little dangerous." I smiled. Bitter and sweet. Then maybe we're exactly what we need.